Hey guys, it's Kyle Thompson here with eXp Realty, bringing you the first market update for September, and this week we're going to be covering all property types. Let's jump right into it. All right, so at a glance, we had 319 new listings, 161 new sales. The average list price was $673,502. Average sale price was $645,570. Average sale price to list ratio was 95.5. Average days on market was 55, and we ended the month with an inventory of 1,002 units. So let's jump over and take a look at what that means for the market conditions. As always, I like to use the monthly supply of inventory method as well as the sales to new listing ratio, as I find using both measures gives a more complete picture of what's going on in the market. And with that said, looking at the monthly supply of inventory, we see that we continue to trend upwards, and we have been in a buyer's market for the last 3 months. That trend continues, and currently we're sitting at 6.59 months worth of inventory. If we look at the sales to new listing ratio instead, we see that for a couple of months we were hovering on the border of a buyer's market, but last month we spiked back up, and we are currently sitting right smack dab in the middle of a neutral market, coming in at 50%. Now, let's take a look at the active inventory. For the third month in a row, new listings have continued a downward trend. Last month coming in at 319, falling from 387 in July. If we take a look at new sales instead, we see that in August we came in at 161, falling 8 units from July, where we came in at 169. However, expireds did drop down all the way from 110 down to 83, which puts us back on track for where we were hovering around in May and June. And the benchmark price for a home in Kamloops did rise $2,900 from $583,600 up to $586,500. Now let's jump over and take a look at the end of month inventory. Last month, we ended the month with an inventory of 1,002 units, which is the highest amount this time of year, going back to 2016. Currently, we are sitting about 9.5% above the 10-year average of 915. If we take a look at new listings year to date, we see that so far we've had 2,901 new listings, which is the highest amount going back once again to 2016. And currently we are sitting about 3.7% above the 10-year trend of 2,798. If we take a look at the sales instead, it tells a bit of a different story. So far year to date, we've had 1,319 new listings, which is the lowest amount year to date over the last decade. Currently, we are sitting about 22.65% below the 10-year trend of 1,705. Now let's jump over and take a look at the sales dashboard, starting off with average sale price. This table is measuring year-over-year changes, so a full year over a full year. And when looked at that way, we see that sale prices are actually up in aggregate about 5.34%, with single-family dwellings, apartments, manufactured homes, half duplexes, lots, and full duplexes all having an increase in the average sale price measured year over year. Now let's jump over and take a look at the sale to list price ratio. All this is a measure of how much properties are selling below the list price. So it's a good proxy for how much negotiating room there is when you are a buyer. And last month, we fell about 1.2%, which is actually a pretty notable drop. And we are now back down to levels that we were around back in January, which is pretty well the lowest part of the market, meaning that there is more negotiating room when you are the buyer at the moment. Now let's jump over and take a look at sales by property type. Once again, this is measuring full year over a full year, and when looked at that way, we see that sales are down about 3.8%, with most areas being down, apart from single-family dwellings and townhomes, which have had almost a 7% and almost a 10% increase respectively, and recreational dwellings, but those only have had 4 sales in total, so it's not really all that important. Finally, let's jump over and take a look at the days on market to sell, starting off with the 10-year. So far, year to date, it's taken an average of 48 days for properties to sell, which is about 11% below the 10-year average of 54. If we take a look at the trailing 12 months instead, we see that in August, we had a huge jump in days on market to sell, rising from 46 in July up to 55 in August. And that takes us back to, once again, about the same as we were floating around at the end of the winter last year. Currently, we are sitting about 10% above the 12-month average of 50 days. finally, let's take a look at sales by property type. Once again, this chart is measuring full year over full year changes, and when looked at that way, it's taking longer to sell pretty well across the board, with the exception of apartments and half duplexes, which are selling about 23% and 24% faster respectively, and single family dwellings, which have essentially been flat at 48 days on average. So to sum things up, the market continues to slow, and we are having an abysmal year when it comes to sales, with the worst year in over a decade. Despite that, prices have actually held in fairly well, and in most segments of the market have actually increased. When looked at big picture, properties that are selling are still moving fairly quickly. However, in July we did see a big spike in days on market, and I do expect that trend to continue as we move into the fall and winter months. I also expect the trend of moving further into buyer's market territory to continue as we progress through the year. That's all that we have for today. I really hope that you're continuing to get value out of these market updates. If you are, please consider liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. And as always, if you felt like there was something that wasn't thoroughly explained, or you would like something added to these market updates, please feel free to leave your comments or suggestions in the comment section below, and I will get to them as soon as I am able. Thanks for watching.